emergency
Emergency
windows,
windows,
yeah, and
yeah,
all
we
that,
did that.
exactly, that was that
That
one.
was that one.
But they got scheduled at 11 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
I mean, just send a bill which one you're interested in, we'll see what we have, and then I'll help get involved in it. If we have,
Yeah.
so just let Bill know which ones you wanna do,
I just missed this.
okay?
Okay,
That's
this is the thing, and I have talked to Ira about this, the cancellation, combining of trains, that's happening out of Ken because of signal problems, which is fairly often. We were part of this conversation and discussion with Helena when this was all coming about as a way to get everybody moving quicker. I don't think it's worked very well as, because what it's creating is unbelievably horrible conditions on the trains that are getting combined. Because you're talking about trains that are already very full as the rush hour continues. And so then what that may do is that may get that train out of Penn Station faster, but it then just jams up the whole way out because of overcrowding conditions that slow the trains down the main line. And so I think we need to revisit the wisdom of that and what is the actual lag time that is being created by canceling trains. Because it's now, once that system goes into place, we're looking at 40-minute delays on a lot of those
We call that
trains.
cascading.
Because of the cascading delays, and it's not, you can't blame it on congestion in the system anymore. It's overcrowding on the train, so now, not only is the overcrowding creating delays,
You'll see
okay, but it's inhumane conditions on
But
a lot of those trains.
But if you go back to performance measures, that should be part of the discussion.
Right,
because
exactly.
You'll see in the report, and I asked about this, report it'll say overcrowding, and you're like, well, what if, okay, you have a problem, you have a delay, and then, half hour later, you still have crowding. How is that classified in the delay system? And it is classified if it's 10 or more. There could be a lot of crowding in the peak period, even though the ultimate delay was something that happened an hour ago.
Well, the other thing that...
They're just going to classify it as crowding.
Right, and I think if I'm correct, because I read the board book every month, and I go through all those delay situations and what were they. I think also what it's doing is it's diminishing, it delayed 10 or more trains, kind of thing, because now what you've done is you've yanked out, like, 4 of the trains that would have been, that shown up in that statistic, so it's suppressing the cancellation of those trains.
Okay.
Look at it.
Usually,
But that's okay.
Look at it.
But in the end,
say, oh,
but in the end, it all shows up in the on-time performance figures. And just so you know, I think there's almost no branch that's meeting its goal for last year.
Right, it's just the
Especially
overcrowding.
only
peak.
the short ones. Only the short ones.
Oh,
down.
did they? Like Long Beach?
Yeah, like Long Beach.
Far
and-
Rockaway?
Long Beach, Far Rockaway. They do pretty well.
Did they meet their goal?
I think they meet. I think they met their goal. They
The
usually
overall
do-
goal, but
They usually do pretty well.
They look pretty bad.
Anyway, but Bill, if there's
well,
something that you can tell about when these combos, and I don't know them as well on
Yeah.
your branch or whatever, but what are we looking at ridership on those, like if you combine those two?
There's a plan. I mean, there's a plan. You can see what the.
I know what the
plans are.
plan is,
You can see
I
what
live
the
it.
plan- Right, you can see what the plan. Yeah, you know
But
what the
what I'm
rider-
saying is, when you cancel the
Right.
6:30 or the 6:35, and usually what they do is they cancel the 6:30,
Right,
combine
there's
it onto the 6:35, and then extend the 6:35 out to Huntington.
Right.
How many thousand people are on a train that are not supposed to be on that train? Because that's the problem we've
Well,
got
how
right
many seats on a 12-car train? Anybody know off the head?
Well, yeah.
Oh, it's basically 120 seats
per
in each
car.
car.
Right, that's a 1,200, 1,214, yeah, about 13.
1460, 1480.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you cancel a train that usually has at capacity 1480 and even more.
right.
Yeah.
You have a real,
Take away the
but you
wheels.
can't fit. It's not like subway trains. You can't. Sorry. You cannot fit, a whole train of long-arm railroad riders on two
train.
maximum
Two
capacity.
trains
You
on
can't.
one
You
train.
can't
Right,
do
that's
it.
what I'm saying,
No, you
but they're
can't.
They don't
trying.
have. They don't.
You
They're
can't.
trying,
They
it's
don't have
bad.
the standing. They don't have the standing room.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Unless you use the luggage rack.
But
you-
then
no, you
they're
don't have
they're
luggage
shocking.
You can.
Now, we've got people riding in the bathrooms. How many people can you fit in a Long Island Railroad bathroom?
Oh, some of those bad.
Seven.
6.
7.
Oh, you've
Trains
tried.
about 6.
Not me.
For college kids, you can do a lot more than that.
14.
Mark, why don't
This
you
is
make-
new, but this is new, so
Mark,
let's.
why don't you make the suggestion to have Charlie McKiernan come down? He's in charge of service planning, who
Okay.
puts these combos together.
Yeah, but I'd also like staff to put together a scenario, what these canceled combo trains are doing in terms of passenger overload.
But
And
we've
what
had
the
the
delays
dates
are.
that comes to, I mean,
Charlie
dates
can
for-
give you everything.
And I'd like Charlie to ride the train with me one of those nights. Then maybe
I mean,
Charlie will
You
like,
know, the question is, what
Have
do
a
you, what's the
solution.
alternative?
don't cancel the trains, that's what we used to have.
Well, if you don't cancel the trains, you still have the crowds.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
The reason they cancel the trains is they can't get they don't have the capacity.
But if I know they're gonna pull
Equipment.
another train, right, no, they have the capacity, they're all sitting out in the West Side Yard.
There's a problem, usually the cancellation is because there's a problem in Jamaica where they can't go as quickly through Jamaica.
Let's,
Yeah,
this
I
is
know.
new, so let's.
But let me just tell you something, Bill, I've been doing this a long time, okay? This is a rather recent policy that but since Elena, this came in, this kind of, this policy. And now I'm telling you, it's not working well. It never was in
We can't
effect,
ask for review.
unless it was
Okay, well,
severe.
then we'll ask for a review.
That's
We'll
really-
talk.
Yeah,
There's no reason to
okay,
argue.
I mean, I'm not gonna
Charlie
debate
Turner.
Oh,
this
yeah,
No, no,
there's
no.
no reason to.
Staff.
That's a review, that's a review. The first thing is, because next thing I want to talk about, I guess that's why you're here. Yeah, I hear rumors that there's some movement on this. and,
Yes, dare
I'd
I
like to
say I have
publicly
some good
discuss it.
news. So the last time, I think I briefed a few of you a few months ago, we were in a different building. I had reported that, at that time, we reported, it was the MTA was there. Mobile ticketing was moving forward, there was gonna be a split rollout. Metro North was gonna be going first. And because at the Long Island, we were still working through some internal issues, we believed that we were gonna be starting much later. We actually didn't know when we were gonna get the green light to go forward. Turns out, all those hurdles were cleared recently. So now,
I'll have
Basically
to,
what a phone call can do.
I'll have to think finish that.
so now we're back to a simultaneous rollout at both railroads.
Oh.
And the plan is to begin rolling out mobile ticketing by June and complete a full system. So we'd have like a pilot to start, just to, sort of pre-selected. No, we haven't had a pilot of mobile ticketing, we've not.
Yeah, I've seen
No.
it on the.
I've seen it.
No, there's no piloting of mobile ticketing.
That's the,
Well, what was it?
onboard Jersey
509 out of here.
What was it? I saw it
That's
too.
the onboard ticket
I'll even
machine.
tell you the conductor that
Oh,
was
you're
doing
talking
it.
about, that's different. You're talking about the onboard ticket
Ticket
machine.
machine.
That's completely different.
That's
Let me, let's
No,
make
no,
sure.
explain what mobile ticketing is.
Let me explain,
All
there's
right.
two completely different,
Okay.
related, but different things.
Let's talk about, because the other thing is not that important.
The onboard,
Mobile ticketing
what you're
is
referring
onboard.
to are each
onboard.
conductor would have a device and they
Right,
would
yeah.
be able to, if someone wanted to buy a board, they could use cash or credit. So
Yeah.
that's going to be slow, that's different, but that's
Okay.
gonna be slowly rolled out.
You're talking
over-
about like it's on
So,
my iPhone.
the mobile-
Okay,
That's,
my mistake.
So mobile ticketing is going to be introduced to customers where you could download the app anywhere, from on your own phone. And we will now, you will be able to buy your own tickets and
The
display that on your
semantics of
phone.
that.
Well, okay, let's
Is
hear it.
that-
I'd like
Is
to
that what
hear.
it'd be
Let's-
called
let's-
in other?
We're calling it
E-tickets.
e-tickets, yeah.
Okay, good.
All right, now we
Now, you
That's
say
what it is.
e-tickets, that's different
Now
than
you-
mobile.
So,
Mobile is,
so we'll call it e-tickets.
yeah,
It's a
Okay.
mobile thing.
So,
right, I know, I
we,
get it,
we
come on.
expect
Forget your
to
book.
begin a test of a small number of people that would be pre-selected. Hopefully, we would begin that in April or May, and we have a short test. Once we feel the test worked and we feel confident with the application, we expect to begin rolling out e-tickets to the public mid-year and complete it by the end of the year. So,
So this is the one where you get
Yes.
the app and then you can get your tickets through your phone.
that's right, and you would
Purchase.
purchase the
And
ticket,
Oh,
and
that'll be so
then
popular.
you would display it to the conductor who comes through. Conductor, at first, it's just gonna be a visual.
But you can't use it for the subway, so you can't do the mail ride.
Actually,
Well, let's let him finish. Let's let him finish.
I'm speaking about the railroads, so we're planning on moving forward with the railroads. Simultaneously, New York City Transit is working with us.
You mean
they're
doing
looking at-
monthlies with it?
Yes, all ticket types,
Oh.
other than, like some things like
Oh, I
special
didn't hear the
getaway
problems
packages,
coming
we're
now.
gonna defer.
Yeah.
So, of course, the whole MTA is looking to be more interoperable, so people can have one ticket and use everywhere. So, the city transit is now starting to think about taking certain locations where they know railroad customers are common, and they are investigating whether they can install readers on the subway turnstile so that you could take that same phone and use it on the subway
They
turnstiles.
do that in England. They do
Yeah,
that in England.
so
Absolutely.
it's a very exciting
They do it in
project,
Italy.
and we're happy that
Oh,
we're actually.
it'll be very
we
successful.
Yeah,
can
they do
move
the
this
startups.
faster than what I told you last time.
Well, yeah, there are a couple of issues. One of our big issues here is people not checking tickets. Are people going to not be able to not buy a ticket until they see the conductor coming down in the car and then purchase their ticket? So they're not going to buy the ticket until they see the conductor coming their way.
But who
That's
cares?
a very, well, that, actually, we
they're paying
spent
a
a
very big
lot of
premium
time
for that.
on that issue, because we don't
I
want
mean,
to.
you can either buy your ticket when you see the conductor, or you can hold, or you can, hold on, 2 seconds, everybody else.
Well, you
shut
said
up.
you want them to do. You said you want them to do.
I have a question, but if you have got the ticket that doesn't get picked up, you cash it in on another day, in fact. So as long as you have it, when the conductor picks up the ticket, that's the bottom line.
But if you
So-
buy the ticket on your phone for the day, it's probably only good for 1 day's use.
Actually, the way it works is, so you could buy tickets on your phone for, at any time, and you can have them sort of on like a Google Wallet, like as an example. And they're good for the same, they're like paper tickets, so they would have the same validity period as a paper ticket. However, you don't have to activate them right away.
How do they punch
You
it?
could,
They don't.
you.
They don't,
You could buy 10 one-way tickets and just have them sitting on your phone, and let's say 5 days later you decide, I'm gonna ride now. You go on your phone, you just activate that ticket. That ticket will be good for 1.5 times the trip. Okay, so if we know your trip is an hour long, it will be good for an hour and a half, right? After an hour and a half,
So the trains are 2 hours
invalid.
late.
Because you don't want people just using the same ticket and like going everywhere, right?
Right.
So you then activate that ticket, and it's a visual image. And so the conductor is going to come through just like they look at monthlies now. They'll look at the visual image and say, looks good, and it's got it's not just a
It's time.
flat thing that's
It's time
easy to
coded.
replicate it for fraud.
Yeah.
It's got like a dynamic kind of color thing that's shifting, so they will know if it's a legitimate ticket or not.
You're not giving them guns.
Amtrak scans it.
Yeah,
and then-
exactly.
But then they kill it. Once they scan it, the
Right,
ticket's no
yeah.
longer
Right.
Okay,
good.
so the
You're not
second
gonna
phase.
scan them?
No, the first phase, because we are looking to introduce this to the public as soon as we can, we're starting with the visual sort of view that I was just explaining to you. Ultimately, when these handheld devices that you were talking about
Yeah.
get deployed to all of the railroad,
Yeah.
the intent is that they will, just like they do with paper tickets, they will use these devices to scan
and
the
kill-
ticket.
And they kill it.
So for a one-way ticket, they would do that for all one-way tickets. For monthly tickets, they would, like today, they don't, as you know, they don't punch a monthly ticket every single day. They do it a few times a month. It's called a punch day.
Get
So
out.
they would do that.
They actually don't do that much
Oh.
anymore.
I haven't had a monthly ticket punch since the first day of October.
So they will be,
Seriously.
Mine has been, but.
5, 6
mine
months.
used to do.
Yeah, that's
Okay, I
your
got one
line.
punched.
That's your line. Ours gets punched.
But go ahead.
so the intent would be they would use for mobiles, they would use the device, for monthlies, they would use the mobile device once or twice a month to validate that ticket. But again, it's all
I'm a paper
visual as
girl,
well.
so this will be for
I
everyone.
mean,
The other
in
thing-
England, I've seen them where you don't even have to take them out. When you go into the train station, it's in your wallet, and you just go through this.
Well, they have turnstiles.
That turnstile, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
it's been determined that it would be
Those are
so
small.
costly to build turnstiles
Yeah.
all over the.
And I think those turnstiles were already up and ready over
The other
there.
question that's coming up.
You asked once, let me
Yeah,
ask one.
there has been a long program, a long pilot program, New Jersey Transit. The
Yes,
same
they
company
have
is
mobile.
building your app.
That's correct.
The New Jersey Transit app is not accessible to screen readers.
Yes, and you
Listen.
raised that.
5:58 p.m.
Apps that talk, I mean,
5:58 unlock.
I use
On time clear.
on time instead of
Mhm.
train time because on time is accessible. Train time is not read by the screen reader. So it's just not accessible. This is not accessible currently in New Jersey, and I don't think the new one coming out here in New York State is gonna be accessible. And it's just,
And you raised that to me
I
before the
raised it,
meeting,
yes.
and as of the initial sort of rollout of this, it wouldn't be, it's not designed that way, but I think it's certainly
It should
something
be.
that,
It
as
should
a,
be.
as a,
I mean,
as
how do you
we
even get
develop
started
it.
without that being a piece of?
The Long Island Railroad website is not accessible under the Americans with Disabilities, well, actually, it's the Rehab Act, Section 508 of the Rehab Act.
It's horrible.
Says it should be, and it's not.
That goes on the communications thing with Larry, yeah,
Because
for
they will,
sure.
these are all
Yeah.
recommendations.
Totally, yeah, think up more of those
So
and
there's,
send them
there's,
to
so
Larry.
there- so there's no step up, how do you do a step up, let's say you go from off-peak, to peak?
No, there would still, all existing fare policies will remain the same, there's nothing changing.
How do you do it if you have an app? You just get to
So,
it?
if you have,
Like an off-peak ticket to go to a peak.
yeah, well, you need to have an active, valid ticket for that time and for that distance. And if you do not, as of now, we're trying to introduce this to be customer friendly, especially in the early stages. So the intent early on, as customers get used to the app and how to use it, there's going to be a period where the conductors will give customers an opportunity, if they don't have the right ticket, we'll give them an opportunity to purchase and activate a ticket that is correct. However, they will be reminded that all customers are advised to purchase and activate their tickets before boarding. We want customers to purchase and activate tickets before boarding because, as you know, if the conductor has to sit there for every single
sure,
person and wait, they're never going to get through the
No,
train.
you know
I
what,
think that's
though?
why they do the turnstiles in Europe.
Yeah,
So once you go through the
That's not
turnstiles.
It's a
Yeah.
step
Yeah.
up. Could
That's
the
not gonna
conductor
happen. I know this generation.
charge, pay cash?
The
and no
application,
issue,
yeah, the application will, the mobile ticketing application will allow a step up on the application and it would automatically hit your account. Because you need to create an account to have e-tics, like you would from
It's
now
as
on.
good, you know what, it's gonna, it's a trial and you'll figure it out in
Yep.
time.
Alright,
I have a very quick question.
I just want to ask, I was, who's still on the phone? Who's still on there?
Larry, you there?
Anybody there?
No, I think they're gone.
Yeah, but.
Oh, there's Larry.
I'm here, I just have to unhit my mute button, because I don't think you want to hear car driving sounds.
Okay.
No, it's quiet here.
I want to show you guys have any questions, I want to show you of anything before we're gonna end up soon.
I have to leave.
No, I'm okay, I'm just like
Okay.
listening, I'm just kind of
Okay,
curious to see
okay,
how this is gonna work. Was this the same pilot program that was used in Port Washington?
No,
No,
you're talking, I
It's
think
a totally different program.
yes, it's a different, I think you're referring to a pilot we did with Nokia a few years ago where people were tapping in and out.
Right, right.
We
Yeah,
decided
yeah,
against
yeah,
that approach. It wasn't very popular and we decided against it.
only because I'm
Well, I'm
taking
just
the
very
608
interested
out of here.
as a programmer and a computer person, how this is gonna work and how you're going to be able to stop counterfeiting too. So I'm interested to see how this is gonna lay out.
Okay.
The Huntington Station passenger access update, what's that about?
Just the issues, I want to see what's happening with the whole issues, but Hector's not here, but.
Oh, that wasn't, that was
That's
the
Huntington.
Cold Spring Harbor.
No, Huntington
Yeah,
thing,
this
your
is
Huntington, no,
Huntington.
your Huntington thing with
This
the
is
station
Huntington,
all outside,
that they were-
the street and everything.
Right, but I
Kubitschek was
thought there was
talking-
never follow-up on our end.
No, we,
That's
no,
why- that's why
the
we're on here, see what's
follow-up was Kubitschek was supposed to talk to you.
All right,
Kubitschek was
we may,
supposed to talk to
you know what,
Huntington Station,
if we
yeah,
could-
Bill is right. Dave Kupasek was talking with the town and stuff.
about the situation with the crosswalks and everything?
Yes,
Okay.
and that's been ongoing for years.
It's
but
so
now-
dangerous,
I-
it's
I know.
frightening. I've stopped,
know.
I won't do it anymore. I'm
Before we
parking
go-
in a way different
Before we
line.
go to my money, we're gonna skip down, just remember, meet the council, guys, February 25th. If you can come, it's 4:30 to 7. We should always come.
4:30 to
Snow or
7.
no snow?
Yes.
Could you send,
If you can.
can I make a recommendation, because I think it's, for anyone, like Google or whatever, an e-invite, so that people can put it on their calendars for everything, both the meetings, you know, that there is an e-invite, that, so we know where things are and what times they're at, as soon as they're set. and then I can put it on my calendar and not think about it again.
Anybody have any questions before we
Yeah,
finish up?
yes, the January,
Thank you.
the new
Good night,
people
everyone.
that are doing the
Bye, Bob.
place
Good to see you.
Bye-bye.
connections,
I'm sorry?
the people that are now place connections, what is this group?
Yeah, they're called the Services for the
Just for the
Underserved.
underserved.
I know that,
Nonprofit.
yeah, I know that, but I'm wondering, what are they doing? Are they doing the same thing that Connections was doing?
I believe they're doing much more, and it's specifically geared toward Nassau and Suffolk County.
So what, nothing here in New York City, nothing in
No,
Penn Station?
New York City, I believe, still has MTA connections. So, but we vowed to get out of that because the services we needed out in Nassau and Suffolk, they really couldn't supply those services. So it went out to bid, and this company was awarded the contract, and they started in January. So far,
So
they've
if we
been
see
working out
somebody
pretty
who's homeless or
good.
needy in a station, does this mean there's a number to call, a person to call, and they'll come out to that station? How is this working?
I assume it worked the same way before. You can
Connections
call-
didn't come out here.
You can call the station, you can call the police, so on and so forth.
I used to go just up to Connections upstairs, and they were great, and they had people there, and, you know, if I saw something down here that
Yeah,
needed
I mean, you can
assistance.
call for the railroad, I believe it's 511, and, you know, you'll get hopefully a public affairs person to say, look, you know, I have a homeless individual at Cold Spring Harbor and blah, blah, blah. They'll notify the cops, and between the cops and this group, they'll take action.
So are they,
You know.
they're a 24-hour service?
I believe so.
I believe the presentation we got, they said they have somebody that covers, they have
I
people
believe
that cover
so.
overnights.
So, but when we say cover overnight, I mean, are we talking about two,
I-
I mean,
I don't-
that's a big thing.
Two people
Two
in a
Two
van.
people for Suffolk and Nassau County,
I don't.
especially in the middle of the winter.
I don't know the specifics of their personnel, but I can tell you they, you know, the MTA police have to depend on them. So we had them out at Wantua, there was an incident at Wantua. They came within a reasonable amount of time. You know, but as far as how many groups they have and everything else.
Because like if they're, I mean, I'm also interested, do they hook up to the county services in Suffolk
Yeah,
and then in
they do.
Nassau? And
Yeah.
if we do, then,
Yeah,
because there's
they
not a
do.
lot of county
Because-
services. I mean,
Because the one thing we found out was that
that's a tough job.
nobody was talking
To anybody.
to anybody.
That's exactly why I'm asking.
You know, county services would come, let's take for instance, a station like Wantua. They would move them to the gazebo 100 feet away from the station and feed them lunch.
Yeah.
When they were done with lunch, they'd go back into the station building
Where it was
and,
warm.
and keep warm.
I mean, and in Suffolk County, the residences are like out in Yakhank, you know.
I can tell you from my own experience, the past 6 months, there has been an uptick with quality of life issues, with supposedly homeless individuals doing a lot of panhandling.
And then, you know, that's because it's cold, and that's.
No, this was during the summer.
You know what, I mean, it doesn't, if I come across somebody who's homeless, it doesn't, I would, you know, I'll get you something to eat, or I'll say no to cash, or whatever, and move on. I mean, but I would like to see if a service can be done. I've seen people who were ill at different times.
Yeah, we've been very,
And I
we've
know.
been very involved. In fact, one of our branch line managers received an award from Nassau County last year as being the top advocate for this whole process.
Oh, which line was that?
It was Pat Jurek-Harris of the
No, what
Babylon branch.
Babylon.
Yeah. Babylon branch.
I mean, the hospitals can't tell somebody to leave, so if they get somebody to a hospital emergency room, that's one safe spot. But the count, I mean, I've worked with.
I mean, believe me, you know, we all have a heart and soul, we all feel sorry, but, you know, when the individual is one, then they go upstairs to the upstairs platform waiting room, and they use it as a bathroom facility, and they're smoking up there and everything else.
Right, that's
Action has to be taken. You know, action has to be taken, and now we have a couple of individuals who've been locked up because.
And, yeah, a lot of people are mentally ill, yeah, it's mentally ill,
Yeah.
and I mean, you know, so.
Hey, Bob.
Yes, Larry, is that Larry?
Bob, this is a question I want to just direct to you. At the Belmore train station, usually around 10 o'clock in the morning, there is a lady who actually comes there in her station wagon with bags and bags of food and feeds the birds.
Right.
Now, I've actually called Nassau County Police, and they said, well, there's nothing we can do because it's under the train trestle.
No, they
Is there
can take
anything
action.
that the railroad can do in regard to this person?
Larry, the Nassau County Police, MTA Police, to use it as them as an example, have the same authority as New York City police officers. Because it's under the railroad track, that doesn't mean, under the viaduct, doesn't mean anything. They can issue summonses, they can make arrests. In fact, quite frankly, when we're responding to a situation, and if we can't get there in time, let's say there's a robbery in progress, an assault in progress, God forbid, Nassau County will respond and they'll effect an arrest. So that's not correct.
Yeah,
I mean, we have those same quality of life problems down the entire branch, at Amityville, at Lindenhurst, where people are feeding the pigeons, and, you know, we put up anti-pigeon devices, and then, we got our head clunked because, you know, of the pigeon lovers.
No, I guess it's just, this one was, it was just remarkable, because I said something to her and she drove away, and then I saw like 10 minutes later she came back in a station wagon with bags and bags and all the birds like, know that she comes. They're hanging out waiting for it. It's actually quite amazing to watch.
Yeah. I think she makes a stop at Merrick and Belmore. I'm not too sure about Seaford. Merrick, Belmore, and Wantua. I'm sorry. You're talking about Belmore. Merrick and Wantua she makes a stop because there's bird seeds and there's bread particles all over the place.
And I got a cab driver, Larry, who does it.
Larry, there's a guy in
that's
Long
not
Island
illegal. They have
City,
to do that.
there's a guy in Long Island City who feeds them off his body. They sit all over his shoulders and arms, and he puts them in his hand. You've seen that?
I've seen them.
You've seen him?
I've seen photographs of it.
Oh,
More power to them.
yeah, I'd be scared.
Photographs.
Hey, Mark,
Mark?
before we adjourn, can I just ask for one thing to be put on next month's agenda? Or 2 months from now, I guess. I understand sometime in the not too distant future, they're gonna wind up taking one of our tunnels out of service to start affecting Sandy repairs. I guess there was-
That's been pushed off.
That has been pushed off? Okay, so it's not. All right, then I'll push up my request.
Believe me, I will keep asking them about
Okay.
that. It's gonna be a disaster. when it
Yeah.
happens. Anything else? Okay, anybody wanna move to adjourn?
I'll move.
Second.
Or I'll second, whatever.
Alright, so, call them tomorrow.
I will being rolled out.
So we have the green light to go with them.
He may tell you.
Well, actually, no, that was, we had done that test, and I think some of you observed, like there were 35
Next week
devices
I'll give
that
you
were
the
out.
times for the station.
And that was just a pilot. Yeah, that was just a
When
pilot.
we're ready. 'cause we had to-
Then because we were working through all these issues internally, we weren't able, as a project team, to
It was
go
at one
forward
point, because we
again.
had gotten it.
All those issues got resolved. And so we're now given the green light to
Yes,
start.
we're adjourned,
Larry.
So now they're procuring the
Larry, take
devices.
care.
Bye,
And
Larry.
they're gonna be, the same time period, like in 2016, we expect to start to roll out the Yes.
Bob, let me have a call.
You guys.
Yes.
We didn't have the history of doing it.
Everybody was your.
Bye, bye, yeah.
Tomorrow may be rough.
No
but
problem.
Next week.
Well, yeah, we have been working on, that
I know
product.
the first time yours didn't work.
You mean the pilot?
The original, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. when
Work, but there were, you mean, you learn things, you know.
No, I'm not criticizing.
Yeah.
But I know so there are no conductors doing that now?
A very small number of conductors
So
are
you're
using,
still,
but very small, less than 10.
yeah, that's,
I'll find out.
well, they started like 2 years, before,
Yeah.
just before the fact.
Babylon no longer.
Right, yeah. Well, it was actually up to 35 at one point, but then it's got scaled back to a very small number.
Okay, this
But now we'll start rolling them out of the
Okay.
Why did the union have to say that? I don't understand.
You know, I'm not the labor relations expert.
Maureen left
It's
this
compli-
here.
I don't know, something like
Unless, what's that? I can't
Maureen
imagine.
left this here, because we left here.
You'd be able to
she
get rid of
come to the
conductors
next
with these machines, and I can't imagine that you could. So
Yeah, I'm not an expert at that, what their position was, I wouldn't want to
6:13.
answer.
Just tell them the
Yeah.
plan and.
So they
Yeah,
are.
but the good news is we're moving forward now, so.
6:46.
Well, it's all like I said, I think it's ironic.
You want the
you
one
guys
that
had
switches
developed
in Babylon or
Metro North
Hempstead?
Using your system
Can you
for
leave
years.
First one is Hempstead, second one is Babylon,
Official that
7:05 is
someone's picking up
Hempstead.
Is that camera still?
Oh, at 7:33.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn, I'm turning it off, I haven't been able to make it back there,
And it's.
but we won't, we'll only do anything with anything up to the, let's see here.
They are.